Can you walk us through block zero?
Block zero generally to me means what the training age of the athlete is that you're coaching. It does not necessarily mean they have a training age of 0 overall, but if an athlete is new to your facility, they come in with a training age of block 0. Obviously, you're going to take a little bit of the history of what they've done, who they've done it with, because again, you may hold somebody in higher regard than another and you know their coaching capabilities to another. But at the end of the day, the truth is they're coming to you for you to coach them, and you've never coached them before, so they come in at a 0 training age. From there, you do your assessments. Depending on what age bracket they're in, depends on what that program will look like. To me, the block 0 concept was really designed for freshman athletes, whether coming to high school or college, so you can expose them to the primal movements that will be needed to do more of the external load. We had just found that too many guys were coming in to the program with so many deficiencies that it was not in our best practices or purposes to throw these guys into the weight room anymore. And it took a long time to have the respect level from the coaches and even the confidence to go to a football coach and say, hey, we're not lifting weights for 6 weeks. These guys get on campus, or not lifting heavy, out of technique based. And again, it's primarily based off of gymnastic strength or relative strength movements. How well can you do an iso back extension hold? How well can you do an iso lunge hold? How well can you do a body weight squat? Can you do a push up rather than a hip down? How well can you do a chin up? How well can you do a posterior? We would do a posterior T-raise hold to see how well their posterior shoulders were. Then you would do some single leg rear foot elevated squat thing. So anything that lunge, tremendous amount of lunge work. For beginners, people exposed to strength training, you can't do enough lunges. In all different planes, even though the transverse plane is a little bit what I would call advanced, I think because you're going to be doing movements in those types of realms on your field work, you can expose that in a body weight and an introductory point. So it's the one thing I will tell you is we're working on different people who have it. The block 0 is a concept, and how you mold that concept is very specific. A block 0 concept for baseball players may look a little bit different than football players depending on the age bracket. But if you're coming into a weight room the first time as a 10-year-old or an 8th grader, it's going to be the same. Like, can't do enough planks, how to do a plank correctly, which helps with a push-up position. Just proper movement. It's almost like movement before muscle. Can we do these basic, what I call internally loaded movements with no load except for what you have versus transferring to external load movement? And again, what you know is, and that's kind of like the farm boy strength mentality. That's what you're trying to do with this relative strength, is to build farm boy of capabilities. Because I'm 100% weight room strong, and I think that's why I have a lot of shoulder issues, a lot of low back issues, because everything that I've done from a strength standpoint has been weight related, like externally loaded. I was never really exposed to doing chin-ups. I think when I got exposed to chin-ups was in college, because in high intensity training, 2 of the big lifts are negative chins and dips. So I think the most I'd ever gotten to in my life was 7 chin-ups at 300 pounds, which that's not bad, but now I can't do 1. So again, use it or lose it. I wish I would trade everything I do now to be able to do even 1 set of 1 chin-ups, let alone multiple sets. So it's something I'm starting to get my brothers back into when I start up my new training plan, where I've got elbow and shoulder, so I got to figure out how I want to work that in. But I am definitely going to do, even if it's assisted, some type of chin-up variation more often in my programming, because I'd like to be able to say I can at least do 1 regardless. But even like dips, I won't even attempt to do a dip now, as bad as my shoulders and tricep issues and elbow issues have been. But that's something like, golly, I wish I could. like I watch guys nowadays, like, hammer out, like Big John, he'll hammer out, full range of motion dips with 4 plates on and smoking. I'm like, man, I'd like to just do one negative dip, negative only, and I'll step back up. But you remember even back in the day where one of the high volume repetition method works for triceps that Louis did was quarter dips, remember?
Yep.
They'd load up them quarter dips. So again, it's things we're trying to build on programming, but it's like gymnastic strength, tumbling, fundamental free play. Like you can have your organized stuff, but at some point you got to turn these kids loose. 1, because you want discovery. And 2, because I think we've started kids now at such a younger age of organized activity that we are not creating leaders. Our lack of leadership is starting at the adolescent and youth ages because most of the kids who had to go to a playground and figure out who was going to make the team captains and who was going to establish themselves as the proponent leaders of what positions people played, that's all dictated to kids now. And then we want to know why when they get to college, we're paying people 30, 40, 50 grand to come in and teach leadership courses. You can save yourself a lot of money, or we could have, if we were still doing playground work. But in this day and age, most parents are so guarded to let their kids play free. And just like, like when I was growing up, Saturday morning, maybe my dad would cook breakfast because my mom worked on Saturdays. I'd take my bike out at like 8 o'clock and wouldn't come home till the 4:30 whistle. And a lot of that was just because we were running around. And then back in those days, too, a lot of people wanted their kids gone all day because they didn't have enough money to feed them. So it's like, oh, we'll just wait till the end of the day. But for us, where I live, the fire whistle always blew on Saturdays at 4:30. So that, that was like an automatic curfew. Like at 4:30, you just see wherever you were in Inwood, the 4:30 whistle blows, everybody jumping on their bikes and sprinting home because it was like you had wherever you were, you had 10 minutes to get home from the 4:30 whistle. But you don't see that anymore. Like even when we were still in high school, we would do pickup football games at the golf course, or like we were from Inwood and another town, Cedarhurst, Lawrence, Cedarhurst. We all filtered in the same high school, but so the kids from Cedarhurst were like, hey man, pick 11 guys and I'll pick 11 guys and we'll meet over at Inwood Park and we'll play some football, or play baseball. That doesn't happen. And then we want to know why people don't have the capabilities to step up to the plate and take the lead in something. It's like, oh man, I wish you'd be a better leader. Well, we kind of deterred them from being a leader.